Hello! Welcome to the second installment of Bryce Goes to England with your host, Bryce. I've had my first day at the Long Eaton School, but before we even get into the school part, on the way to school, Becky drives me to school because she also teaches there. We saw a Lamborghini just driving down the road right past us. Bright orange Lamborghini. I was so excited. Becky didn't care because she doesn't care about cars. I could not be more excited. So I had my camera out taking pictures and video. She just said, "Oh yeah, that's a Lamborghini, that's nice." The next day, we see a Porsche driving down the road, a Tesla, and a Lotus. Okay, if you're not into cars, it doesn't mean anything to you, but if you're a car fan, then you would be pretty excited to see that every day on your way to work. So now it's become like a trend. Every day we see a cool car. Today, I didn't think I was going to see a cool one until we were 30 seconds from the school and we saw a Jaguar XK. So, I had my cool car for the day. Upon arriving at the Long Eaton School, I was given a schedule of a student. His name was Ryan, and Ryan took me around. I followed his schedule, which is really interesting. The way the scheduling works is you have a set of classes one day, and there'll be 5 or 6 periods. Then you'll have another set of classes the next day that'll be completely different. Then the third day, you'll have a mixture of both of those first 2 days' classes, and then it goes on mixing throughout 2 weeks. So you never really have the same schedule each day. So you could have one class first period, the next day you'll have a different class first period, and then the third day you'll have that same class from the first day's first period at a different time, and it's just all mixed up. And I think it's to keep kids stimulated and not to just constantly have the same thing over and over and over so it gets boring, but at the same time it may also get hard to stay organized and stay on top of homework and assignments. So I'm really curious to see how students handle that. Quick side note, English people don't say 2 weeks. They do say 2 weeks, but when they refer to a 2 weeks time period, they'll say fortnight. You just don't hear that in the US unless someone's talking about something medieval or, yeah, really just something like medieval, or they're just saying fortnight for the sake of saying fortnight. Here it's a term that people use every day to refer to the 2 week time period and the 2 week class schedule that students are on, and it is awesome. I love it. Something I noticed while observing mostly all the classes is that there's not as much an emphasis on teacher instruction as there is on students learning on their own or in groups without the teacher's aid. So in the US, you'll have a lot of classes that have a lecture style of teaching, and teachers will stand up in the front and they'll have a PowerPoint and they'll be talking for most of the class and then give students the work to do. Here, teachers will get up in the front and instruct for maybe 10, 20, 30 minutes maximum, whatever's really necessary, and then students will go into groups, or they'll have partners, or they'll do work on their own, which is very rare, at least for this first week I've been here, to see students just working on their own. Usually it will be with a partner or a group, and there's an emphasis on students not necessarily teaching themselves, but exploring the content further than what the teacher is giving them during instruction, where you're not just giving facts to the students, but they're just exploring the concepts as they're learning, which I think is a better method instead of just having to take notes and have to study your notes later. Really getting students involved and getting this hands-on learning is something that seems to be like a more permanent way of imparting knowledge. But then again, you're not imparting knowledge. These students are just given the basis and they're learning on their own. No one's really giving them this information. They're seeking it out on their own through the internet or through these activities. Now there is another side to that where you could say, okay, these students are learning on their own, but what if they're teaching themselves the wrong way? What if they don't understand? In the US, what I've noticed is a lot of students will learn from the teacher, then they start to work on their own, and then as soon as they hit a roadblock, they raise their hand. Teacher, I don't understand this, how do I move on? But here I've noticed that when students hit a roadblock, their first instinct isn't to raise their hand. They'll start to work through it and they'll start to explore and try to find the answer on their own. And if they absolutely can't find that answer or find the solution, then they'll raise their hand and get help. If a student is not learning the concepts correctly, or they're learning the wrong facts, and a teacher's then going to have to go back and reverse what the student was teaching themselves, I think that's where the lack of teacher instruction could be a bad thing. But overall, so far it seems like there hasn't been much of that. I haven't seen that in this first week. In the US, there's a lot of teacher instruction. Here at this school in Long Eaton, there is very minimal teacher instruction. There's probably a happy medium there, and it's just a matter of finding that. And I think some teachers at Long Eaton School have perfected that and have found that, which I think is awesome. If a student is learning on their own, even if they don't necessarily care about the subject, they may begin to care about it more because they are seeking out that information on their own and they're doing on their own, instead of what may feel like they just have to listen to this person talk up front. Again, happy medium. I think it's a great idea to have students exploring and learning, as long as they're learning properly and they're learning the facts and concepts correctly. So there's some theory on teaching for you. I didn't plan on getting that deep. I just wanted to give you an insight on how schools work, at least the school that I'm in Long Eaton, works, and what I've been into as far as school goes. And in the next video I'll talk a little bit about the leisurely things I've gotten into, some touristy stuff, my first ride on a train, and a really cool park that we went to with my host family. So stay tuned for that one, and I'll see you in the next video.